Good morning. What a joy to be with you. As Maureen said, and thank you for your consciousness and thank you for your good work. It's a joy to share the platform with you. My name is David Goldberg. I have the joy and the honor of working at our home office, the Centers for Spiritual Living, and my colleagues and I are responsible for all of the books and magazines. So we are responsible for Science of Mind magazine, we are responsible for Creative Thought magazine, and it's a great joy to recognize the editor of Creative Thought magazine, Patrick Soren. Thank you for being here. We're also responsible for all of Dr. Holmes's copyrights that UCSL holds. So when do we reprint the textbook? When do we translate something into Spanish? Right now we're working with Portuguese and Swedish and Finnish. And yeah, I'm a little rusty on those particular languages. I can count to 4 in Finnish because when I toured with Up With People, we spent about a month there. And as the lead-in to the Up With People song, it was 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or in Finnish, uksi, kaksi, kolme, neljä. And now you got the extent of my international vocabulary. And it's just a joy for me to be able to engage in that work all day, every day. Another one of my colleagues, Ann Crawford, who works on Science of Mind magazine, whenever she's editing, she has a sign on her door that says, "Editing the glorious words of God." And I'm like, wow, I better not knock. And so for me, it is just a joy because I love words. And I came to that very early on. My folks were from different backgrounds. And all through school and 2 degrees in journalism and communication. And now to be hanging out in that space really brings me great joy. So when I was working with Foster and any number of folks who are leading your community and doing a brilliant job doing so, he said, "What are you going to talk about? What is your talk title going to be?" And for me, this just kind of dropped in on being safe, sexy, and spiritual. And I had no idea what that meant. And you know, what do we know when we take something into prayer and meditation, or when we're calling someone or something into our life? We need to be that first. So that has been a part of my meditation of who I am calling into my life. And I'm like, okay, so where am I with that? So that had been a part of my meditation. So that's where the talk title came from. And I also recognize that renew is the theme of the month. And again, from a word perspective, that's fascinating to me. New isn't quite good enough, so we're going to renew. Active isn't just quite good enough, so we're going to be proactive. I love saying that, you know, that's one of the words that's from the Department of Redundancy Department. But anyway, a lot of people like that, and it tends to make the point. And I also love grammar and punctuation, and I credit that to 2 high school teachers who were wonderful, who got this kid who was interested in any number of other things to pay attention to grammar, to pay attention to English. So kudos to Mrs. Cochran and Mrs. Babb. And when I was talking with another one of my friends, I gave her the talk title, and she said, "You're going to talk about safe sex in church?" And I said, "No, you know, we're a little different, but we're really probably not that different. You didn't hear my comma." And so that's the grammar piece. So as I sat with this, it was, you know, what does that mean? How does that come to be? When I was growing up, I don't know about you, but I think through the millennia, there are any number of words that we whisper. That as a polite society that we really can't speak out loud. And when I was growing up, when I was just a little guy, my godfather had a malignant brain tumor, and my mom was doing what she could to help him with rehab and therapy and so forth. And I was just a tiny guy, and she took a can of my Play-Doh. And I wasn't real fond of that. And I said, you know, "Mom, what are you going to do with my Play-Doh?" "Honey, I'm going to give it to Uncle Don because he needs to do some physical therapy work. You know, he has cancer." And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but it must have been bad because she had to whisper it. And then I remember being in high school, and of course, you know, we knew everything, and we could talk about everything, and we knew more than our parents. And one of my classmates happened to get pregnant. our junior year. And not only did she get pregnant, but she got pregnant with twins. And she was rather petite, and she started to show very early on. And people would still whisper, "She's pregnant." Really. And so for me, what we're talking about today, being safe, sexy, and spiritual, may be interpreted as our modern day whisper words. You know, in the corporate world, there's nothing more damning than, "He's playing it safe," right? I mean, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to be charging full speed ahead. And certainly in some religious or spiritual communities, not necessarily religious science, or this one in particular, I don't know your specific culture, but it is, you know, do we really talk about being sexy at church? It's like, well, I'm not sure about that. And spiritual. Spiritual is one of those words that I myself still whisper sometimes. Well, you know, I'm really not religious, I'm spiritual. So that's what we're going to explore a little bit. We're going to kind of jump into that, and we're going to release the whisper. So to that first part about safety, I had the joy and the honor to travel with a number of people on a particular trip, as well as the group has been there any number of times before, to Kenya to do service work at an orphanage in Kenya. And it was really a joy, and it was a pilgrimage, and we were grounded in practice, and we did reflections, and we did sharing, and all kinds of things. And before we walked into this orphanage, we were given a heads up that these kids, yes, they are orphans, yes, every one of them is HIV positive, and they know how to work people, for lack of a better term. They're used to Westerners coming in, they're used to getting what they want, they know how to do that. And so do with that what you will. You can give them the gifts that you brought, you can give them the pins and the t-shirts and the bubbles and do whatever you want, or the money. Just know that they know how to work people. So that's the energy that I'm kind of walking in with, and we walk into this orphanage, and by orphanage standards, it honestly is gold standard. It's just outside of Nairobi. 100 kids live there. The orphanage is structured in such a way that it's individual homes, individual 4-bedroom homes. So they live 4 kids to a room with bunk beds, and each house also has an adult there. So that's kind of the structure. So we walk in, we're all standing in a line, about 15 or 20 of us, and this mass of kids starts, they see us and they smile and they start running at us. And I have this Lee Majors $6 Million Man moment. This kid is running at me, and he's smiling, and we make eye contact, and I'm thinking, he's gonna jump. And I'm knowing it, and I'm knowing it, and I set down my backpack, and I brace myself, and he gets to about the second row, and he's off. And he just launches, and he's probably 6, 7, 8 years old, and we've got our eyes locked all the way, and he just lands right on my chest. And here we are, and it's like, okay. And I look at him, and he's looking at me, and we have this great bond, and he says, "Hi, I'm Mark." I said, "Hi, Mark, I'm David." He said, "Do you want to see my room?" I said, "I would love to see your room." So he takes me by the hand, and away we go. We go running into the house. We run into his bedroom, and it's a bedroom with 2 bunk beds, and there we are. And he's like, "This is my room, and this is where I sleep, and this is where these guys sleep," and he's telling me all of this. And I'm doing my best to be attentive and to listen and to be in the moment with him. And then he starts showing me the rest of the house. And we walk out into the living room, and there's a crib in the living room. And there is a little guy dressed head to toe. He has on his shirt and his vest and his jeans and his boots. And he's not standing at the front of the crib. He's standing at the back of the crib. And he's just kind of whimpering. He's not really crying. He's not drawing big attention. He's just kind of whimpering. And I look at him, and that safety was there for both of us. And I didn't know the rules. Honestly, I didn't care about the rules at that point. I walked over, and I picked him up, and I didn't set him down for 4 hours. And we just had this amazing safety and this amazing connection and this amazing bonding. We sat through a Catholic Mass. The orphanage was run by the Catholic Church. And he sat, and his name is Kevin, and Kevin sat on my lap. He never said a word. He never made a sound. Through all of the songs, through everything that was going on, he would keep perfect rhythm. All of his brothers and sisters, all 99 of them, came up to him during that 4 hours because it was his first birthday. And so we were hanging out together. And the only reason I set him down is when the nurse came and said, "Kevin, where have you been? I've been looking for you. It's time for your medication." And so that's when we separated. But for me, that absolutely embodies that safety space. So I just invite you to consider, where are you safe in your life? Not something that you have to seek out, but something that you just know, something that you just feel. Is it a space? Is it a person? What does that look like for you? And it's absolutely okay to own that, to say that out loud, to say, I feel safe. Ernest Holmes writes in the textbook, "Through spiritual discernment, we see that we have within us a power which is greater than anything we shall ever contact. A power that can overcome every obstacle in our experience and set safe, satisfied, and at peace, healed and prosperous in a new light and a new life. If God be for us, who can be against us?" And I wanted to share this one as well, that he writes in What Religious Science Teaches. Religious science is a religion of joy. It is a religion free from fear and uncertainty. It is a religion of faith justified by results. Everyone is instinctively religious, and everyone has an intuition within themselves which, should they follow it, would lead them inevitably to a place not only of inner sense of certainty, but to a place of outer condition of security. So Ernest addresses that for us as well. And now on to the second S, on to sexy. And as I was reflecting on this, there were two people within my faith community at Mile High Church in Denver that came to mind for me, and I have their permission to use their names and to share their stories. The first is a delightful friend in being who was in my same practitioner training class. She's 40 years old. She was raised with her definition, hippie parents. She spent most of her young life not wearing clothing, literally living in the woods. Although mom and dad were still married, dad wasn't always present. So she would describe herself as being from a father-absent home. And she had some challenges recently, including a divorce and some things with teenagers and tweens and any number of things. And she started taking belly dancing lessons with her teenage daughter. And she said, "And Goldberg, when you share my story, you have to tell them that I'm a bigger girl." And I said, "Well, okay." So there you go. And so when I was talking with her about that, I said, "What is that?" She said, "That is a chance for me to connect with my daughter, but more importantly, that's a chance for me to connect with myself. I'm not doing this to reach out to anybody. I'm not trying to attract anybody. I'm getting in touch with a part of me that I felt that I buried for a while." And the second being is well known within our community, is a doctor on Channel 9. And James has been doing some work with Dr. Roger at Mile High around optimum wellness and getting everybody on track and what that looks like. And a couple weeks ago, he stepped up on the stage to explain what that whole program was and the web-based effort and the community potlucks and all of those good things. And I know that the women were going crazy, and he certainly had some of the men looking as well. And the whole point of that is, I think that both of them, with the term sexy or sex appeal, comes from authenticity. It's got nothing to do with anything else other than they are connected to their inner self. They allow that to express, and that is when they are in alignment and stepping into their own power and into their own yet to be. And interestingly, as I was doing some research around this, Dr. Holmes also talks about sex in any number of places. And the differentiation then between sexy and sex. He writes about the sex drive in a fashion akin to the concept of creative energy being harnessed or unleashed. And that's actually in the 1926 version of the textbook. So as we move into the third S then, as we move into spirituality, I just, some of my friends who are here, and friends and family, thank you for choosing to be here. Some of my friends and family have heard this before, but I wanted to share it with you just by way of context around who I am and how I came to my love of different religions and different traditions from a very early age, perhaps at birth or even before. So in my birth, I was not the miracle. My mom was the miracle. The day before I was born, she had her appendix out. And so she is 9 months pregnant. She has her appendix out. Well, do you just want us to get him while we're in there? She said, no, he'll come out when he's ready. So they didn't do stitches. They did a big Band-Aid while they invaded my space. So 12 hours later, I was ready to come out. And my dad is there with his wind-up movie camera, waiting for who knows what, but apparently everything worked just fine. So shortly thereafter was the baptism. And my parents identified differently. I wasn't raised in a particular faith tradition. My dad identified as Jewish. My mom identified as Lutheran. Neither one of them absolutely solid on their path, doing what worked for them. But they had so many friends that they decided we should be baptized. And both of my brothers and I each had 3 godparents. So there we were at my baptism, or so I'm told. I was in the Lutheran church, and so the minister is doing his thing. We have my dad, who identifies as Jewish, my mom, who identifies as Lutheran, and my 3 godparents, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, and Catholic. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the whole godparent thing, other than if something happened to my parents, they promised to raise me in that tradition. So there we are. So I'm a bit of a mutt. So we finish with all of those traditions. The minister looks around, he knows everybody's background, and he says, good. I guess that makes us all Democrats. So I came to my love of spirituality and all faith traditions in that regard. So fast forward then, in addition to completing Holmes Institute with my dear friend Kathy, we're going to be graduating on June 7th. So thank you for keeping us in your prayers. Because I can't get enough school, I've completed all of my coursework and exams for my PhD in ethical and creative leadership. And my work is the intersection of leadership and spirituality. And so I'm working on my dissertation, and I've got this whole chapter on the nuance and the difference between leadership and spirituality, and I'm citing my sources, and good work if I don't say so myself. And I share it with my committee, and I get lots of interesting feedback. Not the least of which is, David, you shared a whole lot of information about religion and spirituality, and then you just go on to talk all about spirituality, and you don't talk anything about religion. Why is that? And so that's what I get to be with now. What does that continue to look like, and what is that for me? And part of that definition came, again, with Kathy, when we had the opportunity to travel to Chartres, France several years ago. This was a pilgrimage. This was really deep work every day, culminating in a nighttime walk of the labyrinth on the floor of the Chartres Cathedral that has been there for thousands of years, that has been walked with intention by millions of people. And after doing a bunch of work for 2 weeks heading into it and a lot before, I step onto the labyrinth that is surrounded in thousands of candles. We have a live Baroque orchestra that came in from Paris. Couldn't get more perfect. And I step onto the labyrinth, and my human self kicks in. What if I do this wrong? What if I don't get what I'm supposed to get? What if I mess it up? What if, and the ego just starts chattering away. And I chose to walk in my stocking feet, and on my 4th step, I hear, you are good. Well, that's not right. My work has been around being good enough. Shouldn't it be good enough? Maybe I'm not listening. Maybe I didn't hear it. And I hear, you are good. And I immediately burst into tears. And I finish walking the labyrinth. I go to the center. I do my prayers in the center. I walk back. I'm crying the whole time. And apparently, that was the message I was supposed to get, is you are good. And that was perfect in that moment for me. And that was one of the highlights of my spiritual journey. And again, I share that with you by way of the opening perfection that was the song that says, you are good. And I invite you to know that about yourself. It's easy for us to know that about our loved ones, our friends, those people in our community, our children, our elders. But let's know it for ourselves. Let's step into that bigness and step into that greatness. So in honor of the theme of renewal, I found something from Thich Nhat Hanh that I wanted to share as well. One day I was about to step on a dry leaf. I saw the leaf in the ultimate dimension. I saw that it was not really dead, but that it was merging with the moist soil in order to appear on the tree the following spring in another form. I smiled at the leaf and said, you are pretending. Everything is pretending to be born and pretending to die, including that leaf. The Buddha said, when conditions are sufficient, the body reveals itself, and we say the body exists. When conditions are not sufficient, the body cannot be perceived by us, and we say the body does not exist. The day of our death is a day of our continuation in many other forms. So in the spirit of renewal, I wore my yellow tie that you really can't do just any time of year, complete with red tulips. And I just know that that spirit continues to grow within each one of us, even with the oncoming snow, whatever that might look like, however that might unfold this week. And I just invite you to step into that space of being comfortable with ourselves, because we are all God. We are spirit expressing. The divine goddess, the divine God expresses through us, as us in every moment. So there's nothing here that doesn't belong. So kindly step into this with me and join me in saying, I am safe.
I am safe.
I am sexy.
I am sexy.
I am spiritual.
I am spiritual.
One more time with gusto. I am safe.
I am safe.
I am sexy.
I am sexy.
I am spiritual.
I am spiritual.
And so it is. Thank you.